to New York. Thank you for being here. Kevin McCullough at the headquarters of AFA Today, the normal studios for you, and we welcome your calls at 888-589-8840. There is a lot to get to in the way of world news today. Also some new information about something that, well, some of you may not know about, Duck Dynasty. It took home the, according to Lee Habib at the National Review, I was just looking at this before we got to the studio, 11.8 million viewers in its debut last week, 8 million more than the season 5 premiere of Mad Men, and 6 million more than this year's season premiere of Breaking Bad, 3 million more than the finale of The Good Wife, which is a CBS show. Breaking Bad and Mad Men, both cable properties. So the Ducks are off and running with a tremendous send-off in the Till Duck Do Us Part. And I will make a rather candid confession here. I am a duck addict. My lovely bride nearly sent me into shock when I walked in one night. This is probably back in March, and she had it on when I got in, and I would just have never seen the lovely bride watching rednecks, shoot ducks and go fishing in the backwoods of Louisiana. But I said, "Are you actually watching this?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Do you like it?" She goes, I think so." And then she started giggling at whatever was going on. So I sat down and watched it, and I was addicted immediately. This season premiere episode, the kids threw the mom and dad this wedding opportunity because they got married by justice of the peace when they were very young. 49 years later, they get the wedding that they had hoped, and it was a very heartwarming show. But they pray at the end of every episode, and the father Phil, happy. I want to be him when I grow up. I want to have that kind of sheer tenacity and insight and persuasion. And it also does my heart good to see a father and his 4 sons have the relationships that they have, especially in light of some of the stuff that I've been dealing with in the last few days. And those of you that have been on Facebook and seen some of the status updates, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, congratulations to them and to the network that had the the insight to say, hey, maybe we should have something wholesome, funny, non-dark and cynical or ironic, but just optimistic, lighthearted, and look a lot like America. So congratulations to them. The interesting thing about this is that they just wander in and out of discussing their faith both on the show and in life all the time, and it doesn't seem to be something that closes doors, which is really refreshing. Recently, there's a video that's kind of come out of an event that Phil Robertson spoke at, and he rails on abortion, and he rails on the country's elitists and how they think that they got away from the principles of George Washington and Andrew Jackson and other founders. And he just really powerful stuff. And it'll be interesting to see if they continue to maintain as broad a popularity as they do, given the outspoken position that they are coming from. But I wish them well and hope and pray that Uncle Si is around a long time to just make me giggle. I think Uncle Si is one of the strangest people that's ever been born, but he makes me laugh with almost everything he says. One place that Christians are not having very good outcomes right now is in Egypt. And that's one of the things I wanted to touch on today. Oddly enough, the New York Times producing a piece, and I you know that I say One News Now all the time because that's the place that I want you to go. It's a cold day. It's a very rare day when I bring up the New York Times. But a piece that I'm going to link to the AFA Today page, Islamists step up attacks on Christians for supporting Morsi's ouster. What has happened there, and I'll give you the short of it, is that you have the Coptic Christians, which are about 10% of the population in Egypt, and they've enjoyed relative freedom under Mubarak and under the last, several generations. They enjoyed relative freedom. When Mr. Morsi became president, At first, everything was fine, but the more he became the dictator in wait and the Muslim Brotherhood continued to exert power, the worse things became for the Christians that live there. And in recent days, when the military has cracked down on the Brotherhood, the response has been, we will go make the Christians pay. And so they've destroyed churches, monasteries, homes. They've killed Christians. They are going after it full time. And here's kind of the odd observation about this, and I get this from a talk show industry colleague by the name of Hugh Hewitt, but he opened a piece on his blog yesterday saying, shame on the silence of the president and on the complicity of the GOP senators blasting the Egyptian military and not the Egyptian terrorist implementing ethnic cleansing. What he's basically asserting is that those that are going after these Christians are doing so on an ethnic basis, that they're killing people for the pure reason that they are Christian, for the pure reason that they're non-Muslim, for the pure reason that they want to do that. This is an incredible one-sided, focused, targeted campaign to basically annihilate Christians. And what you have is you have President Obama and you have John McCain and Lindsey Graham. And who else did Brett Stevens mention in his Wall Street Journal article? Pat Leahy and Rand Paul, that are criticizing the Egyptian military for its actions. You have Rand Paul that are voting for cutting off aid to the military. But they're not criticizing the Brotherhood. They're not criticizing the Muslim Brotherhood. And in light of that, you have to kind of scratch your head and say, what's going on here? How are we supposed to make head or tails of this if our own president and Republican leadership are on the wrong side? It's interesting that question's also being asked because in another outlet today, Jerome Corsi is writing about a link between President Obama and his half-brother that has evidence, evidently, of him being linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. So besides all the people that we have in the administration and in junior secretary positions and other things, besides the fact that Huma Abedin's whole family is connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, despite the fact that we have all these Muslim Brotherhood influences in D.C., particularly in the Democratic Party, we still have a president and several GOP senators that are saying shame on the Egyptian military for doing what they're doing, kind of implying that the Christians who kind of felt protected by the military and thought that maybe the military would see to it that their civil rights were going to be reinforced, are complaining about it and saying, hey, we're under attack here. And no one's saying anything about it. No one has anything to say about it. It's just really quite, I don't know, discouraging when you see that this is how it's going down. And this plays into the overall narrative of the Obama foreign policy failure that I wrote about in No He Can't, how Barack Obama is dismantling hope and change. You can still get copies of that at the AFA bookstore. But his approach to foreign policy has been an abject failure from the beginning. He's kicked the teeth in of our allies, and he's propped up those people that we should be being very stern and distancing ourselves from. He's put all of them in the opposite sides of the debate of where they should be, and it's created chaos. He cited in Honduras when they had that uprising and the congressional body there threw out the executive after the executive was caught trying to change the Constitution illegally and gain longer time in power, et cetera, and they kicked him out. The president criticized the people that were following the Constitution of Honduras. And he sided with the person who was trying to break the law in Honduras. With Israel, he has consistently treated them with rudeness and with animosity and with hostility, even though Benjamin Netanyahu has consistently said The United States is our friend, and we're very committed to them, and we know that they're committed to us. That's just kind of perfunctory from the way I look at it. But the president has gone out of his way, in Egypt in particular, right after he was elected, to go there and to speak to the students at the University of Cairo, to usher in their, what do they call it, the Arab Spring, and then to really be almost like he's frozen with paralysis to do anything now that violence has returned there. Friends, pray for your brothers and sisters in Egypt today. Pray for them in a massive and mighty way, that God will make himself real to them, and that he'll give them the strength to not only endure, but hopefully to see a peaceful new day come about. George in Missouri wants to weigh in on this. George, welcome. You're on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. Hi.
Hey, Kevin, real quick. Go President Phil Robertson. A redneck can do just as good. But
happy.
We love you, Phil, and we're praying for your boy, Kevin.
I appreciate that.
And I didn't they parade some nuns through the streets of Egypt the other day? What's that about?
They've gone out of their way to embarrass every element of Christianity within the. They've destroyed churches. They've knocked over holy made marble tables and left them in shambles. And marble tables are not easy to bust up. There's been a lot of reaction in anger of what the military has done. They take it out on the Christians. So when the military breaks up, gatherings of Muslim Brotherhood, then the Muslim Brotherhood scatter, kind of like cockroaches, but then they pounce on Christians when they find them. And, there's been a lot of Christian dead, injured, hurt, and much of their property destroyed in the last few days.
I just wanted to ask you, when are we going to wake up and we're going to stop being their whipping boy? Because when we come out of the gate and they get us mad, they're going to wish they never woke up this little giant.
No, I don't know. I don't know if we have the stature anymore, George, to consider ourselves a true giant. I just don't. I am very, very pessimistic about America's will to do good right now. And it's not because of the people. I believe in the people, and I still think the people are the best in the world, kindest-hearted, biggest-hearted folks that you can find. But for whatever reason it is, we have really disconnected ourselves from those who lead us and those who govern us and those who put laws into place. And when we do that, we open the door up for all kinds of problems. We just do. When Christians remove themselves from the culture, when they remove themselves from the life of the culture, then what we end up with is a vacuum in an area where we need influence. We have exactly the opposite. And I've got another story that kind of gives an example of that, that has to do with the current president, and why it took a policy of the school district to finally end a certain practice is pretty sad. But I think it's indicative of where we are, and I'll talk about that coming up. I'm Kevin McCullough. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your prayers. Many of you have written in the last day and said that you are praying. So many of you wrote yesterday that I was just forced kind of in the middle of the night to just put a Facebook status up that said, please, just pray. That's the best way you can help right now. This is AFA Today. I'm Kevin McCullough, coming right back on AFR Talk.